Ladies and gentlemen, power is over. But that does not mean for one instant of a second that the fun is over. Without a doubt, you are here because the power is out. So stick around, because it's Power Out. Yeah, it's Power Out.
Tuesday is wrestling, as we say here at lovewrestling.ca. Thank you so much for joining us in the thick of the holiday season. My name is Zach Ralph. I am the host of Power Out, your the half of the Love Wrestling double feature here on Tuesdays. This very stream, you won't even have to leave this room, will be followed immediately by Ed and Astrid of NXT, reacting to the NXT program that many wrestling fans enjoyed this evening. But we are here to discuss NWA Powerrr, and I have a return special guest host, like becoming very frequent, like virtually a staple here on Power Out. Josiah McDonald, how are you, friend?
I am doing all right, Zach.
I'm doing quite well. Josiah and I actually had the chance to finally meet in person after several of these encounters here on Power Out, and it was good to meet you like in person, as it were.
Yes, yeah. I was in the middle of a move to Ontario, and partway through, I was like, "Hey, Zach's where I'm going to be." So when I was on the way, and I was like, "Let's grab lunch. Let's grab lunch," and it ended up being brunch, but that was fun.
Yeah. So if anyone's ever in Dorval, there's an airport right there. Express is a nice little place to check out, as Josiah will vouch for.
The food was awesome.
It absolutely was, and great company too. We've got a really good episode of NWA Powerrr to react to. I also want to pick Josiah's brain a little bit about the pay-per-view that just happened this weekend, being Hard Times 2. But before we jump into that, I got to thank the good people making good things happen here at Love Wrestling. I'm, of course, talking about our sponsors at RK Athletics. Whatever your fitness goals, if you are in the Edmonton area, you want to reach out to Rich King, personal training packages are available to you. If you're not in the Edmonton area, just check it out on the website. There are online resource packages available for you as well at rkathletics.ca. Also, don't be shy. Feel free to drop them a DM over on Twitter or Instagram. RK Athletics 1 on both platforms. RK Athletics, start chasing your goals today. Now, Josiah, pay-per-view. I was hoping to have you on the special Power Out, but of course, you are very busy with the big move and whatnot. What did you think of Hard Times 2?
Not a bad show. Not the best show by any stretch of the imagination, but not a bad show at all. I guess Mike Knox was just there to further the angle with Matt Cardona. Maybe they're forming some sort of stable or something like that. But I was not a fan of how Jack Stane is on the pre-show, and I don't even know. Don't get me wrong. I think Mims is a future champion, but I don't think him beating Jack Stane on the pre-show was a good idea. And I had no idea that happened until today on this episode of Power, actually, because I didn't get to watch the pre-show, so there was no real recap of that. But I don't know, man. Jack Stane feels like the guy they should be heating up to take on Murdoch. Just everything they've done. And we've talked about that a lot, like on this show here, but also privately. Actually, while we were having brunch, we were talking about that. And it was just one of those things. It's like I thought it was fun. Not the best show I've ever seen, but he have a challenge on that show. Maybe he should have had a bigger match and won.
Yeah, Yeah, I agree, and I think I agree with your assessment too that this could be like the precursor of a Matt Cardona stable. I've said I have no issue with Mike Knox, with the exception of him jumping in and main eventing a pay-per-view. Would have been fine if like this maybe ended an episode of Power, like he jumps to the front of the line for a main event on that, and you establish Mike Knox as Matt Cardona's heater or something to that effect. There's potential there, but we will get into that. That's the one note I really wanted to take a small dive with you, because like there's not a lot of Cardona or Mike Knox to discuss on the rest of the program, but the rest of the show itself, this episode of Power, does leave us some interesting talking points, as it were. The show kicks off with Joe Galli confirming what was reported by wrestling media, and that Pope was injured with a very nasty concussion sustained in the post-main event segment of Hard Times 2. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show as well, as that's further explored. Opening contest, we got a 6-man tag team match with Colby Carino and the Fixers taking on OGK and Victor Benjamin. Victor Benjamin was one of the people who stood out in the gauntlet, in the opening Battle Royal gauntlet for the Junior Heavyweight Championship qualifying match on the pre-show of Hard Times as well. So the match gets going. Carino lets the larger Fixers do the heavy lifting of the match, doing damage to Mike Bennett, occasionally stepping in when it's safe, but mostly lets the Fixers take care of his dirty work. Victor Benjamin gets the hot tag while OGK neutralizes the Fixers. Carino and Benjamin get a little back and forth in the ring before Carino finishes Benjamin off with the Sunsetter. What did you think of this match?
It was Benjamin, you said, right?
Yes, Victor Benjamin.
I thought he looked really good. Steve Carino, or it's not Steve Carino, Colby Carino's dad 20 years ago. I thought he looked awesome in this match. They really got something in him. They really got in Colby Carino. And I think if they play their cards right, they have a future world champion. I'm shocked one of the big organizations picked him up. I think that's really only a matter of time. So really, they shouldn't play around. If you have a guy like that good and there's a threat of them leaving, kind of strap the rocket to them and go for it. Because you never know how much big business that will draw for you until it's their time to leave and go to bigger pastures. But yeah, I thought it was good opener. Fast-paced match. I love the Kingdom. OGK as they are now. Taking Mike Bennett. I've always liked them as a team. It's really fun seeing them as baby faces because they've been heels for most of their careers. So Taven is surprisingly great as a baby face. And it's strange because he's such a good heel. But Mike Bennett's awesome. I'm so glad he's getting to showcase how good he actually is. And the fix with Carino, they play nice big men because they are big men who just smash people. So it was good match.
Yeah, I'm with you on your full assessment there. The thing I wanted to bring up is I was quite surprised that Victor Benjamin is the one who got heated up for the hot tag, especially with the connection that OGK has with the audience. Because, again, Victor Benjamin, not really a name I'm familiar with. Joe Galli did a great job putting him over as a former mixed martial artist prospect with an undefeated record. And again, I was like, okay, why is he getting the hot tag? But then the hot tag happened, and then I saw why, because it was awesome. He came in like a house of fire. His big boot to Colby Carino was just like a work of art, and especially with how Colby Carino sold it. It would have been, it would have made more sense, like on paper, perhaps, to expect that one of the members of OGK will get the hot tag, while perhaps Victor Benjamin is the one who's playing Ricky Morton for the better part of the match. But once it happens, like, okay, Victor Benjamin, you've got my attention. I'm looking forward to what you do next.
Yeah, the match was clearly designed to highlight him, and it was the hot tag where I went, whoa, this guy's great.
So good.
I might have lost when they book him out.
No, go for it.
Sorry, I think I may have cut out there.
Yeah, apologies. Between Josiah and we're both kind of struggling with internet on this particular edition of Power Out. So I'm sorry. Did you? Would you care to finish your thought?
Yeah, Benjamin, his hot tag was like, he's a guy I'm going to be paying attention to going forward.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that one. We move on to the next segment. We've got May Valentine with Strictly Business. Once again, everyone's pretty much just touting their matches. Chris Adonis and Camille are both patting themselves on the back. Tom Latimer does not really have much to celebrate because he did in fact lose to Nick Aldis at the pay-per-view, but he's saying between him and Aldis, Latimer was the only one who was able to leave under his own power. He brings up how Nick Aldis needed the ref's help to be escorted to the back to the backstage area. How do you see this continuing?
It has to head for some sort of stip match at some point.
Yeah.
Although I do like the little thing they introduced to kind of delay it with a temporary reunion of the British invasion, which we'll get to later. There's never a way to kind of put it on the back burner, but still keep it fresh in the mind. But I do think this is fun. I think we need a stip match, maybe a cage match to end this one.
Yeah, I think that's a solid assessment. I think that we can definitely expect this to blow off in it was a grudge match at the pay-per-view, but let's build it up. Let's put some stakes. Let's put a cage match. Let's do something. Let's do something old school. Moving on. We got another promo. Jax Dane is with Kyle Davis. Jax Dane is making excuses about being distracted by Anthony Mayweather, which I learned later on in the evening is actually rebranded Crimson, because I did not catch the pre-show, unfortunately, and I was like, "Who's Anthony Mayweather?" But I guess we've got rebranded Crimson, but that is what it is. Jax Dane essentially says that he leveraged his championship opportunity. Once again, the championship series is haunting us, Josiah. He leveraged that opportunity to get a rematch tonight against Mims. We can talk a little bit more about Jax Dane a bit later on, but man, can we just get over this champion series? Can we just get erased it all?
just
awful.
Oh my gosh! I just want to wipe it from memory, and it just keeps haunting us over and over again. I don't know how many people are left with title shots.
Oh man, I think
technically Velvet Sky has one.
Yep, that's very true. She does.
And Pope still has one, and Jax Dane still has his. Yeah.
I think Colby Carino might even have something in his back pocket.
Oh, well. You know what? I think you're right. You're right, because he was on the winning team too. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, he was he was like a substitute. Man, yeah. I will rejoice when the last championship opportunity is just finally put to rest. But that is.
And then they'll book it again. You watch.
yeah, just in time for Champion Series 2. Hey, if they can refine it and actually give it a proper set of rules, I have no problem. It's just it was clearly made up on the fly, plus all the editing issues that just spoiled future matches and incorrectly recorded previous matches. It was just a disaster. But following this, we get some very interesting news that NWA USA, a brand new program that will be airing exclusively on YouTube starting January 8th, which is going to be looking like it's going to be on Mondays. That's pretty cool news. I discovered this whole rebooted NWA through YouTube, and that's how I really got excited about the brand, especially we're talking pre-pandemic, of course. And honestly, that's what NWA needs right now, because right now I can't, even as an NWA fan, I can't really suggest and recommend people buy these subscription packages. I love NWA, but I'm not that enthusiastic about the current product. But a good a free program that lets people dive into NWA with no financial commitment, exactly what NWA needs right now.
Yeah, because it's a really good way for them to offer expose other people to the product who wouldn't watch it otherwise. And maybe they'll bite down and say, okay, that's going to be worth a purchase. And I think that's probably what they're doing with it. I like the idea of the junior heavyweight matches being on there as well. Yeah. That's going to make it a unique show. And I'm not a huge fan of adding a fourth or fifth wrestling program to the shows I watch every week because I watch so much wrestling. But because I watch everything AEW does, I try to watch Ring of Honor as much as I can. I try to watch Impact if I get a chance. I watch NWA every week, mainly because I recap it for the Wrestling Observer. But yeah, I'll definitely check it out, and especially where it's the junior heavyweights. You're gonna put guys like Homicide in their wrestling. Okay, you got me. I want to see that because those are going to be good. And at the very least, it's probably not going to be any longer than an hour. And NWA is usually very good at booking a 1 hour show.
Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly their strong house. That's where they're that's where they're best when they're producing very short content. Because like you said, the pay-per-views they're a little hit and miss. So another hour program, that's certainly going to be playing to NWA's strengths. We've had people watching, but we've finally got some people saying hello to us. Bobby, thank you so much for tuning in and greeting us on this evening. What do you got for us, Bobby? Camille is defend the NWA Women's Championship against Kylan King on December 11th. Oh, that's cool news on Coastal Championship Wrestling. I don't know too much about that, so if you can let us know how to watch that from wherever we may be in the world, please do so. That's got my attention. Ed, hi. Thank you so much for saying hello. Glad you're tuning in. Once again, Ed and Astrid will be jumping into the stream immediately after Power Out. You don't have to leave the room or anything like that. And they'll be reacting to NXT on NXT. Now, also, one more point of interest. As mentioned, Josiah and I have been having internet connections. That shouldn't be the case for Ed and Astrid. This is completely on our end, so it's not a matter of the stream quality itself.
Darn you, hotel Wi-Fi.
Oh, dude, it's not just you, man. I've been having problems with recent streams. I got to take a close look at my router probably at the end of this broadcast. But let's move on before we have our next technical failure. So we got Tom Latimer. Before I start ranting about the internet service providers in Canada. That's a rant to itself and certainly a different stream. So next match, we got Tom Latimer taking on Miguel Robles. Latimer looks to make short work of Robles with a very early pile driver, but Miguel surprising him with a jackknife cover for 2. Latimer takes exception to that very near fall and just unleashes aggression on him for the remainder of the match. Power move after power move, strike after strike, gut wrench after gut wrench, and eventually just finishes him off with a pop-up powerbomb followed by a pile driver for the win. Again, this did exactly what it was designed, made Latimer look like a beast, and it was effective at that. What did you think?
I like him going back to the pile driver.
Yeah.
It furthers the angle with Nick Aldis, and that is fundamentally good storytelling. It's the heel killing a bunch of people with this move. So the more I would be perfectly okay with Latimer squashing a guy every single week until he faces Aldis again and just killing them with a pile driver over and over and over and over again, to the point of where you're wondering if someone's going to kick out of it. And then Aldis kicks out and the crowd goes crazy because we've had 12 weeks of Latimer killing people. It's simple psychology, but it works. So.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. A few more people to say hello to. Hi, Astrid. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bobby echoes what we were saying earlier, Josiah, is that I would like to see more of Victor Benjamin on the NWA. He impressed both of us tonight, and can't wait to see more of him. Dare Amazing. Hey, Alien, and Josiah. I thank you for joining us. I'm not an alien, guys. I'm not an alien. And Dare Amazing, Stone Cold Voice. I want to see that pile driver.
Me thinks you doth protest too much.
And Bobby just confirming that we can watch Coastal Championship Wrestling will air on YouTube maybe this year or next year. Hey, I'd like to see more Camille and I'd like to see more Kylan King. So I will keep an eye out. Thank you very much for calling that to my attention, Bobby. Next up, we've got Genocide taking on Paola Blaze. Again, this is another thing that I missed about the pre-show at the pay-per-view. This was like a fallout of Genocide wanting to cash in her championship opportunity in the tag title match, which Paola Blaze thought was not really a good idea, and ultimately they fell short at the pay-per-view. So we get this match. Blaze really just wants cooler heads to prevail. She's trying to calm down Genocide, but Genocide just has a bone to pick, and she's going to take it out on Paola Blaze. She's dominating, and she's winning over the crowd while she's doing with this dominant performance. We get a distraction from Natalia Markova that nearly distracts Genocide for the loss, but she's able to recover and finish off Blaze. This was finally I'm very interested in Genocide and Paola Blaze's story, because before it's always seemed like filler, but this was really well told, and I can't help but think that the new producer that NWA confirmed at their pay-per-view, Jazz, may have had a hand in this. What do you think?
I would think so, and I think they've had Chris Hero do a few things for them as well, which will only help. They're in ring as well if he's producing. But yeah, the Jazz, you kind of had her fingerprints all over it. It's a simple storyline. Paola Blaze did not like going for the title shot right away. Thought it was the wrong time to pick their shot, and she ended up being right. And Genocide blames her for the loss because of that, even though it was Genocide's idea. So perfect heel work. It's very simple. But then there's the added layer of Taryn Terrell saying we could use her. Like, she should still be on our team. Come on. Yeah. And so there's a little layer of intrigue there, and I think that has Jazz's fingerprints all over it.
I loved Taryn Terrell from the outside in this match. Her verbals, like just pleading with Genocide to ease back. The verbals don't kill her. I was laughing during that. That and when Genocide had like a hammerlock or some sort of armbar on Paola Blaze, and she's like, "I don't want to fight you." I couldn't help but laugh. Like I had sympathy for Paola Blaze in that situation, but at the same time, I'm like, that's funny. That's really funny.
Yes, yeah. That made me laugh too. I don't want to fight you as you're getting destroyed. It's like, Bobby, you better fight.
Bobby weighing in on what he'd like to see for Natalia Markova's future, which is against Camille in the NWA. Yeah, certainly I'd like to see that down the road, especially maybe after moving on from Genocide. We also got Sean. Thanks for joining us, Sean. NXT, the good show forever in history. Well, you're in the right place, Sean, because NXT, your reaction show of tonight's NXT with Ed and Astrid, will be happening immediately after Powerrrout. So please hang around as we continue to react to tonight's NWA Powerrr. Next up, we've got May Valentine with both men's and women's tag team champions, as well as Homicide. All of them are pretty much just putting over their match, and we get a little understated from Homicide. It's like, I'm gonna win the junior heavyweight title or something, like as committal as that. He had like nothing to say.
I'm really happy I won the match. I'm gonna win the title. That's it. And he just walks away. Which is surprisingly understated for Homicide, although he was never really much of a promo guy. Conan is usually the guy who cut promos for him, or Julius Smokes in Ring of Honor. But but yeah, Homicide has this his own charisma, but I liked how he just was like, I don't want to be here. I don't like talking. I just want to go fight.
Yeah, he was definitely not in his comfort zone, and that actually kind of endeared Homicide even further to me.
Yes.
I always got time for the Hex and the Rebellion on my screen, but like, let's be honest, there wasn't really a lot of substance really offered from this segment. They were just putting over their matches, which are matches certainly worth checking out on the replay. This is a fair question from Dare Amazing. How many more sides are there in wrestling? It's true, we just discussed genocide and homicide. If anyone else comes to mind, please drop them in the chats. I'm not thinking of any off the top of my head. But next up, we got another promo. We've got Kyle Davis with Austin Idol and his company. TV champ, I'll say this. He did a good job putting over his team, especially Jordan Clearwater. But yeah, he did. I begrudgingly offer that level of compliment to the television champion. But this leads to Kyle Davis bringing out Scion, who wanted a little face-to-face time with the champ. Scion says that his match with Tyrus taught him a lesson that his quote unquote, this is like a bit of a teaser for the Scion character, that his NWA champion father could never teach him. Scion asks for the rematch. I'll just finish up the brief summary. Scion asks for a rematch, and the team says that they will consider it. So yeah, that's a very interesting piece about Scion. They're alluding to his championship father. So
I am so glad I have not looked up who this guy is, because that as soon as I heard that, I went, "Whoa, that's new!" And it's clear they're eventually going to reveal who this is. Even though it's not like you said, I think at one point to me, it was just like it's an indie name. That's who it is, a guy who was on the indies. But that alone right there to me is like, okay, that's intriguing. This adds a layer to the character that wasn't there before. And we're starting to understand his motivation a little bit more. He's trying to live up to a legacy that was there previously, and maybe he's masked because he doesn't want to be in the shadow of his father or something like that. You can kind of add that to it. And I got to say, I thought this did a very good job of getting the Scion character over. And I thought Jordan Clearwater coming out with the Ric Flair robe was awesome. Yeah. I he looked like straight out of the 80s, which is exactly the kind of character development he needed. If he leads into this, I hope they push him to the moon, because he's really good. And if he can start really getting into this character and going for it, I'm totally okay with Jordan Clearwater being like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of upside to Jordan Clearwater. We haven't seen a lot of him outside of the TV champ's shadow. Okay. Well, thanks for weighing in, Paladin. You guys ain't talking AEW, are you? Well, we're not, but thanks for trying to make the conversation about AEW. We're here talking NWA. Whatever you like in wrestling. If you're a fan of AEW, that's great. If you're a fan of NWA, that's great. NXT, that is great. Just look at the name of our brand, friend. This is Love Wrestling. We love wrestling, and there's no judgment for whatever people are enjoying. Thank you, Ed, for pointing out Suicide. Dare Amazing also pointing out Suicide as well. If there are any more sides, we want to hear about them. I should have done a little research after I heard that clip, because I don't think the person who's under that Scion mask is actually second gen. I might be wrong. But again, I don't want to spoil things, because I know some people watch this show and don't do that research. They want the storyline to unfold on screen, and I'm not going to indulge it for that reason. Going to look into it in the future.
Even if he never unmasks, or it's a kayfabe parent, that's perfectly fine with me. I'm just tell your story, right? It doesn't matter. It's wrestling. It's fake. Tell the story.
Oh, wait a second. Could it be Austin Idol? If we're talking
I like that. I like that.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, something to chew on as regards to kayfabe fathers in this storyline. Anyhow, moving on, we get a segment. This is another downfall for NWA. Whenever they after a pay-per-view, they always have these very promo heavy shows. So we move on to the next promo segment of the match of the show, we get Nick Aldis with Mickie James with Kyle Davis. Mickie puts Kiera Hogan over hard here, says she's going to keep her eyes open, and if Kiera ever wants another shot at the Impact Wrestling Women's Championship, her door is always open. Nick Aldis puts over Mickie for being the amazing woman and competitor that she is before he moves on to his focus on Latimer and Hard Times. Then he turns his attention to the world-class history of tag team wrestling in the National Wrestling Alliance, having been so dominant in singles competition for many years in NWA. He wants to focus on the add to the legacy of NWA tag teams, and he does so by introducing his former friend, his former partner, part of the British Invasion stable from Impact Wrestling and New Japan, Doug Williams. And he comes out, he accepts the offer. They have reunited the British Invasion. Really fun segment. My only issue is, like, early on in the evening, we got confirmation from Joe Galli that British Invasion was having a tag team match later on. I thought that might be an editing issue, one of many with the NWA, but that is what it is. I would have liked to have seen this like a bit of more of a surprise.
Yeah, because they announced it at the start of the show, and then there was that in the promo. They should have aired the promo first before making that announcement. But I do understand they wanted to market the episode, though. Like, they wanted to let people know this is a special episode with those two guys teaming up again. So I kind of get it, maybe being on social media and stuff, but I wouldn't have had the commentators talk about it.
Yeah. Like, I would have missed that. Like, I'm on social media a lot. It's what I do for a living, but I somehow missed that, and it would have been nice to see it unfold on TV. But that is what it is. We're going to talk a little bit more about British Invasion in just a little bit, because we do, in fact, see that match. But first, we got one more match before the main event, and that is Mims taking on Jax Dane, the rematch from the Hard Times pre-show. Early on, Dane's focus is on Anthony Mayweather, the former Crimson, who is sitting at the commentary table. Very physical matchup, hard-hitting back and forth. Ultimately, Dane finishes Mims off with a very beautiful lyric branded the Pop of the Trunk. Cool stuff here. Again, like we talked about how Jax Dane should be heated up to be like the guy who's taking on Trevor Murdoch in like these filler pay-per-views that they need to do. And like he showed why here. And again, Mims is a future star down the road in his own right. Every time I see him, I like him more and more, and his look is just getting better and better, especially with the new gear. What did you think of this one?
So I liked the match. I liked the squash. It was a good squash. As you know, many times I love a squash where just a mean dude just destroys someone. I mean, look at the shirt I'm wearing, Minoru Suzuki. So I love seeing mean guys crush other people. But I don't understand why they had Mims beat Dane on the pay-per-view if he's just going to lose it back here. And it seemed like also the change in Crimson's name. I know you touched on it earlier. It was like, who the heck is Anthony Mayweather? And then it was Crimson. And I was like, Crimson's an okay name. You don't have to run from that. I know your run in TNA sucked, but you're good now, so who cares? Maybe he just wants to go by his real name, but I was I was a little confused by that. But Jax Dane, I love the guy. He's a good monster heel. If he's going to be like a foil for Murdoch, they definitely need to start heating him up, as we talked about before. And honestly, if they're going to save that match for later, then they need to slowly heat him up by having him crush people week after week, week after week. And if they're saving it for down the line, like way down the line, like a year from now, maybe he's the one to take the title from Murdoch. I don't know. But I don't know if I'm a fan of that idea. Because I want Murdoch to have a nice long run. But like you can do guys in between, but really it's not going to hurt Jax Dane to lose to Trevor Murdoch right now at their next pay-per-view, whatever it is. And if you need to, you can always heat him back up later and have him win the title later if they want to eventually put the title on him. I would do the match sooner rather than later, and then revisit it if you want to do a different result. And I'm talking about revisiting it like 6 to 10 months later or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely like. I got time for a Trevor Murdoch versus Jack Stane, but it's not a match that I really need a very long build for. Let's get that done. Let's have it happen. Let's get the championship opportunity off the table. Let's get the match and see what happens from there. But we got one more segment before the main event, and it is in fact with your NWA World Heavyweight Champion, the real World's Champion Trevor Murdoch with Kyle Davis. Murdoch takes exception to everyone who's jumping him from behind after every single match he has. He recognizes it as a common thread in his NWA career. And he says if Matt, and I don't know if this was an intentional mispronunciation, but he calls him Matt Cardonia. If he wants a piece, he comes and he fights him face to face. He's confronted, not by Cardona or Cardonia, but by Aaron Stevens in a very ostentatious outfit. He congratulates Murdoch. He's referring to himself in the third person. He thanks his partner Kratos for opening his eyes and like bringing back this side of Stevens. Again. It was a good segment that accomplished two very different things that succeeded doing these two different things very well. I don't know if it made sense to put them in the same segment, though. Yeah,
I think I would have had it as two separate segments. I do have a comment about the end of it, where like Murdoch was talking about people, like you said, running in and always cutting him off and all these kinds of things. And then Aaron Stevens cuts him off. And ostentatious is a great word. You used a very good word for that, because there's no other way to describe what that man was wearing. And this was very much so. It was a Damien Sandow like Aaron, like Ed just pointed out there in the chat. It was very much so similar to a Damien Sandow, but it wasn't quite like the intellectual savior. It was a mix of like his dramatic actor character and a mix of Damien Sandow, which I think is an interesting development. And Kratos, as he was calling Kratos. I laughed. It made me chuckle. I don't care. I like Aaron Stevens. He's funny, and he's a good enough worker. And I don't know. He's just the kind of guy you give him something and he finds a way to make it work. He's just one of those guys. And
yeah.
But then Murdoch, after Stevens leaves, Murdoch looks at Kyle Davis and goes, "This is what I'm talking about." and the crowd laughed. And I was like, Murdoch, you are a babyface after my own heart, because you pointed out how people keep interrupting you, and then they interrupted you, and then you get frustrated and say it with like frustration, and the crowd chuckles because it was funny. It was good comedy. It was very well timed.
It was very
so I really enjoyed that segment.
I'm with you, man. Like Aaron Stevens, he's like a great wrestler, but he's like so much better at these like bombastic, ridiculous characters. You've seen it from Sandow, from Mizdow, to the intellectual savior, to his work in TNA. He's so great at these characters. And Shooter Stevens, who could forget that? And it was like absolutely the right call to turn him face when they did with the passing of Joseph Hudson. And Stevens was able to celebrate his friend, which would have been challenging to do with these big characters that Stevens is known for. Like it would be hard to pay homage to Joseph Stevens in a sincere way if he was Shooter Stevens. You know what I mean? But now that he's like really, he's got a new character that he can really sink his teeth into, and I'm really excited for that. what we got from here from Bobby. He's pointing out to Ed that he's looking forward to watching the Hex, Alex and Kay and Marty Bell, and Chelsea Green versus the Allure, Mandy Leon and Angelina Love, and Miranda Elise at Ring of Honor Final Battle. Man, Ring of Honor's got a really stacked card for Final Battle, and I really hope that the people who are on the card are proud of their work, because they absolutely should be. And man, that's going to be some just compelling stuff.
It looks like such a great card. I know this is an NWA show, but I looked down the card from the pre-show and up, and oh my gosh, what a card. And the main event, Bandito versus Jonathan Gresham.
I got time for both those talents. I'm not too familiar what the story is going into the match, but I don't think I need one when you have talents like Bandito and Gresham. But with that, we've got a main event to discuss. Darren Mason, and he did some karate. Aaron Stevens, karate master of Mongrovian karate, as per the question mark. Main event time, tag team action. We got Hawks Aerie versus the British Invasion, and it feels very good to say that tag team name. Match starts with PJ Hawks wanting a bit of a challenge from Doug Williams, and the two of them have like a nice little exhibition of technical wrestling. They both tag in Nick Aldis and Luke Hawks respectively, and it becomes a bit of a power game going back and forth. Really great exchanges throughout this contest, like really fun offense, and the finish sees Doug Williams hitting one of my favorite finishing moves in all of professional wrestling, the Chaos Theory, the rolling German suplex. Man, it's so good to see British Invasion back. What did you think of this one?
So the first time I saw Doug Williams hit the Chaos Theory was in Ring of Honor in like 2002. And it may have been on Bryan Danielson, actually. I can't remember exactly, but I have been a big Doug Williams fan for, I don't know how long, probably since 2004-ish when I started watching Ring of Honor. I went back and bought the DVDs, and they're in a box somewhere where I'm moving my stuff. But but yes, I've been a big fan of him for a long, long time. And his team with Magnus as the British Invasion with Nick Aldis, it was nice to see them reunite. And Aldis is so much better than when the last time they teamed. Like he's a really great worker now, and he was not a great worker in TNA. At least in their early days. But I mean, he was young. He was like in his early 20s, and you can tell Doug Williams helped mentor him and train him and all that kind of stuff. So it was really nice to see that them reunite. And Luke Hawks and PJ Hawks, Hawks Aerie, are great. I think they got something in that team. I'd like to see them get a push, but it is interesting whenever they need to have a good tag team match or a good singles match where they need a main eventer to look good before a match or big match or anything like that. They put them in there with Luke or PJ Hawks, and they do the job, but they always look good, make the other guy look great. And that you need those kind of people on your roster, even if you're not going to push them as main event talent. And although I'd like to see them get a shot at that level, but that said, it does speak very well of them that they were trusted enough to go in there with Williams and Aldis and tear the house down. Yeah, and you can tell they had fun with PJ Hawks in there. Like he was thrilled to be working with these two world-class wrestlers and learning a lot from them. So, good match, really good match.
I am with you 100%, friend. Before we jump into our sign-off, Bobby has dropped 2 more dream matches. Dream match Bobby. I'm going to start calling you that if you don't mind. I would like to discuss either of these at length, but Silas Young versus Trevor Murdoch and NWA, Ricky Morton and Kerry Morton versus PJ Hawks and Luke Hawks. I would not be surprised if not both these matches happen in the very near future. But as for this episode of Powerrrout and Powerrr, especially Back to Power, really strong episode by my estimations. This was the first time in a very long while that I felt they had more than one interesting thread to unravel. Like I'm looking forward to several different things happening on NWA, and it's been a while since I've said that with my full chest. It's an exciting time. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, lots of good angles, and all basic stuff. Like you're never going to get wacky sports entertainment stuff with the NWA. You might get a little bit of it here and there, but even in many ways, it's way more basic than AEW. Even though AEW is booked like a 80s territory, except with spectacular matches every week instead of squash matches. The NWA is a true back to basics wrestling product. And I like all the little angles they're doing that are so simple, but they're easy to follow, easy to invest in. They're giving you these characters you can care about. And really, that's the main point. Like, I love awesome matches. I mean, my favorite company is New Japan. So they have like a 5 to 6 star match like every major show. And that's why I love them. But you're not going to get that with the NWA. And I've said that before. But you don't need to. Just give me a character I can invest in and an angle I can follow, and like all these little intriguing layers that are being added to the storyline. The Siam one is the one that's grabbing me the most. That's interesting. And I like your theory about Austin Idol. I did not even think of that. That is an excellent theory.
When you said kayfabe father, that's when my gears started turning. I'm like, oh, okay, that's there's something there.
Yeah, I think that might be where they're going with it, which is awesome. I love it.
It's a lot of fun. Josiah, always great talking NWA with you, especially on Power Out here on lovewrestling.ca. Don't go anywhere for anyone who's tuning in, because Ed and Astrid are going to be joining you for the NXT reaction in just a minute, but only after Josiah drops us and myself drop our social media handles. Josiah, over to you first.
At WR Central is my Twitter account. It is being in the process of being rebranded into some sort of podcast account. I'm probably going to do some retro wrestling podcast at some point, maybe reviewing old WWF Raws and Saturday nights and all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll start with like back at Starrcade and do all the major events until like 1990 and then do the weekly TV or something like that. I don't know. But I don't really have it figured out yet. I'm going to figure it out in a few weeks once I'm fully situated into the house that I'm going to be living in for at least the next 6 months. And then I had to find an apartment after that. But I am, once I'm into my home, I can start focusing on that. And, I see that, Ed. I see that. We will talk, Ed. We will talk. I'm going to be looking for guest hosts, of course, and all that. So I might have to get Ed in on that one at some point. And anything I write at wrestlingobserver.com/f4wonline.com and dailyddt.com. So you can catch all my stuff there.
Beautiful. As for me, you can follow me on Twitter at SmarkMouth, as per the handle just below me. On Instagram, it's smark.mouth. And of course, you should be following Love Wrestling CA on Facebook, on Twitch, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok. This was your NWA reaction here on Power Out. Thanks for tuning in. Right after the song, you're going to be catching Ed and Astrid reacting to tonight's NXT. Thanks for tuning in.
Adios.
Hello and welcome to NXT. I didn't forget anything this time. I am Ed Fries and I'm joined by Astrid Pizarro. Astrid, how are you doing tonight? Astrid, you're still muted.
Sorry, here I am.
There we go.
I'm tired from work, but it was a good NXT enough to give me some energy that I needed, like a good distraction. So it was a good episode for me at least. So I'm glad to be talking about it with you today. How are you though?
I'm doing great. I actually really enjoyed this episode. I know the ending is going to be hit or miss for a lot of people. I'm always in favor of always doing business up until the very last moment, and we're going to start right there. We're not going to mix our words. We're not going to go ahead and take a long time getting into it. It's NXT time. I don't know why the T went, but it is NXT time. Thank you, Dara. Thank you, Alex, for jumping in. We just want to thank, before we get too going, we do want to thank our sponsors, RK Athletics 1 on Twitter and Instagram. Go ahead and follow Rich King. He's a fantastic person, makes all the Love Wrestling content possible. You can go ahead and get virtual training or in-person training if you're in the Edmonton, Alberta area. Go ahead and hook up with Rich King on Twitter or Instagram, and you can go ahead and get more on that. Now, let's get right into the big stuff. Johnny Gargano has his goodbye. Johnny Gargano is saying his goodbye. It's great. Every moment of it is great. He talks about how he started out as being a guy who didn't make it in a tryout, but William Regal brings him in for a dark match. And they like his first dark match against, of all people, Apollo Crews. Mm-hmm. Nice to see Apollo Crews get a little shout out there. He then continues to talk about how they brought him back even though he wasn't under contract, week after week after week, because they liked his work and everything else. He thanks everybody under the sun, from HBK and Shawn Michaels to the guy running the production stuff from home, making the vignettes and things like that. Great promo, absolutely fantastic. He had the look on his face. I said this to Ashton in our personal chat when we were going ahead and getting ready to start the segment. It wasn't the face of a man who was coming out to say something happy. He was coming out to do something he didn't want to do, something that he knew wasn't going to make everybody happy. As I said to my mother as I was watching the segment, he lost the crowd when he said, "But things have to change." Mm-hmm. We have our friends Choke Goat Gaming. We have Dar Amazing saying Johnny Wrestling, Johnny Wrestling. We even got a baby wrestling chant at one point. That was fantastic. And we got to talk about NX 2.0. No, Wordsmith, 2.0, not 2.0. Tonight was a good night. But then the camera stops moving around the ring like it had been. And I'm like, oh, this isn't good. And I saw the crowd and I went, oh, they've seen something. And I'm waiting. And I'm waiting. And they really did a good job of drawing it out. Now, granted, you have the one lady in the crowd pointing and going, "Johnny, look out! Johnny, look out!" which really got to me. Yeah, and we have Bill agreeing, 2.0, that's perfect. The Wordsmith comes up with some creative stuff. You can't help it sometimes. He's a creative man. And if you want to see his creativity in full force, poetry of a promo. Next week's episode is going to blow your socks off, people. I've seen the pictures. I know the promo. I can't wait to see what Wordsmith does with it. But that being said, Grayson Waller attacks Johnny Gargano. And the best part is he lays him out with a chair and fine. He's getting heat on Johnny's way out the door. Makes sense. You make a start. You try to make somebody on your way out. He didn't have to take a ton of bumps to do it. It makes a whole lot of sense. It's amazing. Johnny, look out. Oh no, he's wearing AirPods. So Grayson Waller starts beating up Johnny Gargano and he throws him to the outside. And this is the best part of this whole segment, forgetting everything else about this. The best part of this is he goes at Vic Joseph. He continues to needle Vic Joseph because Gargano said that Vic was one of his best friends. And Waller says, he's looking at him, he's go, "You're not going to do anything to save your best friend? You're not going to do anything to save your best friend?" Oh, fantastic heel work from Grayson Waller. He then puts the chair around Johnny's neck and throws him against the steps. And then he's still going at Wade Barrett and Vic Joseph. And I honestly thought Wade was going to step in. I was really hoping Wade was going to step in, but he doesn't. And he keeps going at Vic, and he grabs Johnny Gargano and he power bombs him through the table at Vic Joseph's feet. Oh, chef's kiss of a segment. Absolutely love it. You may love or hate the fact that they said Johnny could have all the time he wants to do all the... He said everything. He was pretty much done with his promo. I honestly think that he gave them a cue word where he's like, look, I'm going to do my real good promo. I'm going to take the time to thank everybody. And then I want the attack to happen at this point. What did you think of all of this?
More than anything, I'm glad it was Grayson, because I feel like of like the new people from NXT 2.0, Grayson's one of those that people are not liking too much, like character-wise. Like they feel like there's no substance to him. I feel like between him and Vaughn are the people that like people don't like that much. So I feel like it was a good way to get that heat on him, to like incite people to dislike him, because I feel like people don't know what to think about him at this time. But I think that this was a good way to give him that heat that he needs, and his character needs it. So like now when he comes out, people are going to react to him even more than they did before, for sure, because now they're going to remember him by attacking Johnny Gargano of all people. It's kind of unforgettable at this point. But other than that, I love the promo from him, from Gargano. I like how he kept mentioning like vignettes and promo and wrestling and giving us all the words that usually they don't say in promos. But I loved having him telling us a little bit of how he wasn't supposed to make it, but he's there, and thanking everybody from obviously Triple H and Shawn Michaels all the way to Vic and everybody that did the vignettes. It was incredible to watch him. I was like honestly about to cry, and then just like you said, I noticed the camera stopped moving and the angle they had it in. They showed a little bit more of the left side of Gargano from our screen rather than the right-hand side, which made me think somebody's coming. And then I heard the crowd start yelling, which made me think, okay, who's there though? That's the part that I was thinking. I'm like, who of the new people are going to attack him? That was my question. And never, like Grayson Waller never crossed my mind. So that's why I'm glad it was him of all people, because now he's unforgettable for everybody. Because I'm like, how do you go out? How do you like give a reaction by attacking somebody as loved as Gargano is in NXT of all places? So he made an impact tonight. That's what he wanted to do.
The only person I looking back and going, is there anybody else that could have been? I know it doesn't make sense from a storyline point of view, but what if it was Solo Sikoa? Like, talk about a way to make a name for that. Like make his name. Like Grayson Waller had the moment with Ciampa, and you can go back to that after, you know, Grayson Waller gets done with LA Knight and Ciampa gets done with Braun Breaker, because we both know those are based on tonight's show. And we'll get to the other segment with Grayson Waller and LA Knight, because that was fantastic. But those two are ready to lock horns, Ciampa and Waller again. Like that match was fantastic, and there's going to be another one coming. But I'm like, as I'm thinking back and thinking about it, I'm like, Solo Sikoa would have been really interesting there, because it would have been something completely different. Santos Escobar would have been great there. He's already a heel, so you can get him booed. You know, he gets it. But no, it's a 2.0. It needed to be one of those 2.0 guys. Grayson makes the most sense. And it's a great linchpin for what, like I said, when you get to the Tommaso Ciampa feud going into, say, WrestleMania weekend. You know, seeing that in the video package of, you know, him power bombing Johnny Gargano through a table at Vic Joseph's feet. Like that's going to be part of that video package WrestleMania weekend as Ciampa wrestles Grayson Waller. And I'm calling it right now. Like I'm 6 months out and I'm already going, yep, that's the match we're going to see at that pay-per-view. But I really do think that's where they're headed. But Astrid, I know we were talking briefly about things that you loved about this episode. And I have a feeling I know what it is, but go ahead and let us know.
I don't know. How about you tell me which one you think it is? If it's right, I'll continue.
It has to be Mandy Reyes. No, wait, that's me. It has to be the shaman. No, it's not the shaman. We'll get there.
Oh, no, not the shaman, please.
I mean, it could be the way backstage with Persia Pirotta when Johnny came in, but I don't think it's that. Is it Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma versus Zion Quinn?
I have a love-hate relationship with the match because overall I enjoyed it. I like the back and forth action they had, and I like how they gave us like Zion overpowering at Santos most of the match. But that spot in the top rope where they were waiting for each other to do it with the Hurricanrana, no. That was a big no-no for me. I was like, I know like the way they did it, it just like it feels so awkward to me. And obviously I know it's part of the plan, but like having him like go up the top rope and you go up the top rope and I'll wait for you and I'll wait for you and then here it comes. I was like, that's the only part I didn't like about it. But having Elektra going in and give Zion the brass knuckles, and I was like, whoa, here's the DQ. And then they show, I like how they show Santos' facial expressions, like making it seem like, oh, she betrayed me. Look at her, giving her the tool to finish me. And obviously it doesn't go that way. And having, and more than anything, Elektra and Santos raising their hands together on the top by the entrance ramp. I loved that part too. But yeah, the only downfall for me was that top rope kind of spot. But other than that, I really loved it.
Yeah, I thought this was a really fun match. I saw a couple people on Twitter saying that they weren't enjoying the match. I think it was Alex that's saying that he wasn't having a good time watching this match. And I'm like, it's a really fun, interesting match. They don't match up stylistically as much as I thought they were going to. But Santos can do the whole I'm going to get beat up power style with a big guy like Zion Quinn. Yeah, it was awkward watching them set up that spot, but 9 times out of 10, any spot that goes like that is going to be awkward to set up. Yeah. I really bought into the Elektra Lopez. I know I messaged you and I'm like, she's going to help Zion. And I'm like, oh, never mind.
I was waiting for it. I had a feeling something was going to happen aside from that. So
I honestly thought we were going to get another piece to the story. Like, I think it would have been cute. I thought it would have been cute if they had done that Electric, teasing whether or not Electra's with Legado del Fantasma or she's with Zion Quinn. We have Bill Moss in the chat saying it was a smart finish. I agree. It's a great smart finish. Zion gets the idea that it gives you that little dastardly side of Zion Quinn that he's willing to use the brass knucks. And then he throws them and goes ahead and kicks them anyways. I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying that I saw that you weren't thrilled with the match. And that's okay. This is the world of wrestling. We don't all have to love everything equally. We can have differing opinions and still both be right, by the way. Because wrestling is subjective. And what I think is great, Astrid might not enjoy. And what you think is, uninteresting and just a so-so match, me and Astrid could find very entertaining. It's entirely possible. It doesn't even mean that you're wrong. But I do like how you're laughing about it. So, and if you give me the chance to call you out, I'm gonna.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're welcome.
And like Dara says, the match was okay. No, exactly. It wasn't a show-stealing match. Like I thought it was going to be a show-stealer. It wasn't. They didn't have quite the chemistry I thought they might. They didn't have quite the passion I thought they might in the story. Alex agreeing that we don't always all have to agree and that nobody can necessarily be wrong. But it was an entertaining match. It told a story. It's continuing a story. There's probably going to be more to it, and I'm excited to see what the next layer is. Because like we said, like I said it in the Powerrrout show, a great wrestling story is about layers and continuing with layers and having layers in a story. And this feud has had such great layers going forward. Coming from a segment in a Halloween party to a match, where Santos wasn't even at, by the way, all the way to this. Like, it's really interesting storytelling, and they've done a great job. And Zion Quinn is a bigger star because of working with Legado del Fantasma and being associated with Elektra Lopez and being associated with Santos. And by the way, it was great. My mom was like, "What's those things on his shoulders?" Because she saw Santos come out with the robe over his shoulders. And so I was like, "Oh no, it's from his mask from his days as El Hijo de Fantasma on the Mexican independent circuit." Because she watches NXT with me and she has no idea of the stuff that's going on, so she asks questions. But that was a really cool one because I'm like, "Oh, this is what that is." I always like that. I think, absolutely. Ciampa's absolutely calling out Grayson Waller. That's probably going to open the show next week. I would almost guarantee it. And now, granted, I don't know if Waller's going to come out to it. That will be the interesting thing. Grayson Waller might not be there next week. I think that's going to get interrupted by Braun Breaker. But there's a whole lot of stuff going on with Braun Breaker and Roderick Strong and a whole bunch of people. So we're going to head to the top of the show now and go ahead and go beat by beat, because there's a lot to like about this show. So we have, as I would say, a semi-uninteresting cage match. Von Wagner versus... I've seen all kinds of people ragging on Von Wagner. Is he the best pro wrestler in the world? No. Not even close. Is he terrible? No. Not even remotely. He's not terrible. He's really not. Like, he's in developmental for a reason. Like, people need to understand. Like, people are like, oh, he's the worst. Oh, Von Wagner's awful. I'm like, he's in developmental. Like, give him a break. I mean, he's also in there with one of the best technical wrestlers, and one of the top 10 technical wrestlers probably in the planet. Like, let's be honest. I may have my things about Kyle O'Reilly, and I'm going to say them right here, and it's going to be a hot take. Kyle O'Reilly is vastly overrated. Kyle O'Reilly as a singles competitor is vastly overrated. Kyle O'Reilly in a faction, Kyle O'Reilly in a tag team are probably some of the best things in the world. But Kyle O'Reilly as a singles competitor isn't. Kyle O'Reilly as a singles competitor is amazing in the ring and so-so on the microphone. And he doesn't capture my attention. Red Dragon is absolutely fantastic. And the best thing about them was their wrestling matches. Which, again, goes back to the wrestling. The best thing about Undisputed Era was Kyle O'Reilly in the background, because he didn't have to be the center of attention. Kyle O'Reilly, yeah, I understand we just lost subscribers, Alex. I understand. Gasp. Yes, I get it. This is why this may have been, unknowing to everybody else, why I wasn't invited to the show yesterday for the goodbye of Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly is vastly overrated as a genuine, complete worker. That's my opinion. And again, that can be right or wrong, probably wrong. But again, it's subjective to me. That being said, Kyle O'Reilly loses to Von Wagner. He goes out on his back, as most people do in the wrestling business. Von Wagner gets the low blow, goes ahead and hits his double underhook finish, and gets the win. He then goes ahead and starts to leave, beats up Kyle a little more, hangs him in the tree of woe by the door, not in the door, and we'll figure that part out. And we'll figure that part out as he slams the door 3 times. But Kyle's head wasn't in the doorway, but we'll give it to them because you don't want to risk head injuries. We've apparently lost Twitch. We'll see if it comes back in a moment. That being said, your thoughts on Kyle O'Reilly versus Von Wagner and how wrong I am as saying that Kyle O'Reilly is vastly overrated.
I get where you're coming from. I get your point of view, because to me, I like him, but he's not like, if I were to say like my top 10 favorite wrestlers, Kyle O'Reilly wouldn't be on that list. Because I know he's good, but I know it's not the best thing in the world. Like, I know there's other people that I like a lot more than him. So I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's just like I get where you're coming from. So I understand. I won't do anything else about that part. But yeah, overall, I missed a little bit of the match because I was trying to get my app on my Roku, and I guess the app went, no, you're not logged in. I said, yes, I was, but I guess not. So it took me a moment to get into the USA app as I was watching it. But other than that, it was like okay match. I figured with the way it was happening on War Games that Kyle was gonna lose this match, and then they were gonna put over Vaughn like this, and obviously he was gonna get booed because he just obviously got the victory with Kyle. But I at the beginning of the show, I told my brother, this is the beginning of the show. The end of the show with Gargano is going to be the total opposite. and ended up being not exactly almost the same thing, which I thought it was super ironic at first. But yeah, I just like told my brother, yeah, this is Kyle, and then like Gargano's gonna get the love and the chance later, but I guess not. And then before I forget, I want to thank Bill for coming because he's part of my group on like my wrestling group on Facebook that I keep posting everybody to come in here to support me, but he's the only one here so far. Thank you.
We're going to talk about this, Bill. I'm going to bring this comment back up in just a little bit. Actually, I'll bring it up now. So in between, after the match ends, we get a promo for Johnny Gargano tonight. We get Braun Breaker heading to the ring. When we come back from the commercial break, we get Joe Gacy in a backstage promo. Love the lighting in this one. And he talks about how what happened at War Games isn't a failure. He talks about how it isn't the end of the world for him, because while he may have lost to Roderick Strong and he didn't win the Cruiserweight Championship, he has bigger and better things on his mind. And he talks about changing a program that has the same problems that the Cruiserweight division has. And I'm like, oh, they're going to give us a storyline reason why 205 Live is going to have to change its name. Kudos to WWE for realizing that they're going to do it anyways, so they might as well make it a character beat for Joe Gacy. Really, really enjoyed that. What about you?
Yeah, I was listening more than watching because I was getting set up. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting how they use that part of like his character and the storyline to like obviously why they're gonna take 205 Live away sometime soon. But I do wonder they should like remove it altogether because obviously we've seen some of the ladies wrestling there sometimes. So is it better they just rename it and they keep it the way it's going, or just like take it off together as it is, which is what has me curious about the show. And obviously, like Bill was saying, the Cruiserweight title as a whole as well, because obviously we have not a lot of people to go against Roddy, and obviously now it opened up the opportunities because they said they took off the weight restrictions they had. So we'll see.
Now, what do you think about the state of the Cruiserweight Championship? We saw a whole bunch of people dancing in and around the Cruiserweight division, and it goes into our next segment, and I'm going to bring up a segment for later, and we're going to tie both of these segments together. And then we'll go ahead and we will answer your question in its actual entirety after that, because I think these two segments will help us get to what the state of the Cruiserweight division is in just a moment, Bill. So don't go anywhere with that just yet. So we have Braun Breaker comes to the ring, and he talks about wanting a piece of Tommaso Ciampa. Makes sense. He pinned Ciampa in the War Games match. So far, so standard WWE. He then gets interrupted by Diamond Mine. But not all of Diamond Mine, which I thought was unusual. Mm-hmm. It's Malcolm Bivens, the Creeds, and Ivy Nile. And Malcolm Bivens comes out and he talks about how the Creeds are about to whoop JBBJ's bums and, you know, they're going to beat them. But he looks at Braun and he goes, but I've got a problem with you right now. You keep talking about Tommaso Ciampa like you're the next one in line, but you're not. You're not the only one who had a great night at War Games. Roderick Strong had a great night. And I'm like, all right, I'm in for this. Where's this going? And it keeps going back and forth. And he talks about how that he's removed the weight limits and now Roderick wants bigger and better challenges. And so now next week, we're going to get Braun Breaker versus Roderick Strong. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. We then later on and then as he's walking away, he bumps right through Malcolm Bivens, almost knocking him over. He falls into like Ivy Nile's arms and he has this aggrieved look on his face. I guarantee you Malcolm Bivens is going to pretend all week like he's been devastatingly injured by Braun Breaker on Twitter, because that's who Malcolm Bivens is, and I'll be sad if he's not. That's not a bad suggestion. We were trying to come up all week with names for the division. I don't hate it. I mean, Impact is going to have a little bit of an issue with it, but I kind of love it. But again, we'll get back to that question in a minute. We then, at the end of the night, have Diamond Mine outside talking about the same match that we were just mentioning, Roderick Strong versus Braun Breaker. And he talks about how Roderick Strong is the champion in NXT. And of course, anytime you say the champion in NXT, you know who's about to make their entrance. One of my favorite wrestlers on NXT, Carmelo Hayes, and his boy Trick Williams. and Hayes got getting in Malcolm Bivens' face because the champion on NXT is the A champion, and the A champion is Carmelo Hayes. And I'm like, are we getting a 3-way match next week? Are we getting Roderick Strong versus Carmelo Hayes, a unification match? Take the 2 titles and make them one? Are we going to get double champion Carmelo Hayes? I don't know, but I'm loving the idea that there's so many balls in the air. Speaking of balls in the air, we announced our promotion with Manscaped. Check out our Twitter at lovewrestling.com on Twitter to see all the announcement stuff for that, and we will have more stuff for that in the future. But what did you think of this promo, the second promo with Carmelo Hayes stepping up to Roderick Strong and I mean, he wasn't stepping up to Roderick Strong, he was stepping up to Malcolm Bivens. But Bivens is a placeholder for Roderick Strong, who apparently just decided not to come to the arena tonight.
Yeah, I thought it was super interesting because, like I told you in the chat, I was watching with my brother who doesn't watch NXT anymore. Yep. And then he's laying down and he goes, wait, who's this guy with the North American Championship? And I tell him Carmelo Hayes. And he goes, and then Roddy has a cruiserweight. Does that mean that they're going to face and unify the titles soon? And I was like, oh no, he came in here. He hasn't watched the show in like months. And then he comes in here all of a sudden and he's already going to predict the show for me because it's going to happen eventually. And I figured when I saw that, I was like, yep, it's totally going to happen because my brother calls stuff like that all the time. I bet you when it does happen, he's going to tell me, pick up the phone because I called that a couple weeks ago. But yeah. And then now that he said it, I can't take that vision out of my mind thinking, yeah, this is going to happen because it's the only way. But I figured that they could have kept the title, just like renaming something else, because I feel like there's so many guys and not that many titles if they unify those. But that's just me.
I'll go back to the wordsmith comment. The NXT division title kind of fits. Like, again, it's copy and paste, but WWE's done worse copy and paste before. Mm-hmm. Example, Cora Jade. Just saying. But in the Joe Gacy segment, we also learned another thing, is that Harland is going to make his in-ring debut next week. Sean Cena asks, who do we think Harland makes his debut against? I have my idea, and it's funny, but I guarantee you it's going to be somebody like this. Malik Blade.
Oh my God, that's what I was thinking too. As a Malik or Idris.
Yep, I'm like, who's the smallest, littlest dude that they have that's a jobber that they can throw around? Like, Malik Blade fits that description pretty well. I guarantee you next week he faces Malik Blade.
Yep. I thought who could, like, not benefit, but I was thinking who could he crush without actually hurting their character? And then I thought, oh, Malik Blade, never mind.
I'm sorry, not jobbers, enhancement talent. Alex does correct. He is correct. They are not jobbers. They are enhancement talent. Yeah. I apologize. I must use the proper terminology. But no, like, honestly, it's going to be a showcase match for Harland. It's going to be somebody he can toss around and make him look big and strong and powerful. So it's going to be somebody super tiny. So it's either the guy that Joe Gacy had in the ring last week. Remember the guy in the
we didn't get a name for him. So.
We didn't get the name for him, but it's either going to be him or like Malik Blade. Because I think they want to make something of the Idris Enofe guy. Mm-hmm. So like while it could be him, like they want to do something with him. They gave him a vignette. So I don't think they want to ruin him. And I don't think they much care about how bad Malik Blade looks.
Yeah, Malik is my first option.
Yeah. Back to Bill's question about what is the state of the cruiserweight division. I don't think there is a cruiserweight division. I think there's a third level, a lower mid-card division in NXT. And it's that Roderick Strong is in there, but I don't think he's lower mid-card. But I think this is going to be like a step up for some young talent. And this is the type of division where you're going to see people like Malik Blade and Idris Enofe, and for now, Solo Sikoa, Joe Gacy. People like that are going to float around in this now lower mid-card division, I would call it. Guys who aren't ready for the North American Championship, but still need a little bit of something to give them something to do. And I think Joe Gacy could be great leading that division. So I think that's where they're headed for the cruiserweight division. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's what I think of it. Just like they're not obviously gonna be ready for the world championship, and they're not. I did they're like a little bit lower than the North American, and just I'm like, they need people to lead them anyway, so might as well have people like Solo Sikoa and Roddy leading them more than anything, because they're the ones probably had the most experience out of all these guys so far. So I don't, I agree with you. I see something like that. It's just like obviously they need to have somebody to lead, so they had to put these guys in there. So might as well do it and give the other ones the experience of learning from them too.
And I know you had some thoughts on this, so I'm going to set up this next match and I'm going to let you go with it. So we have JBBJ defeating the Creed brothers with GYV on the outside, and up in the Eagle's Nest, as I've dubbed it, and we've apparently going to call it now on NXT, we had Imperium watching along. Go ahead and describe how this match ended and why it irked you so much in the private chat.
I feel like even if I describe it, it's not gonna even sound like real, even though it did happen. But it was funny because, like I told you, I was watching with my brother. So we're watching the match, and then I forgot which one of the GYV members is the one that did it, but he removed the tag rope for the JBBJ side. So my brother goes, "Who cares about the rope? Don't even pay attention to that rope in the tag matches anyway." But obviously for this particular spot, they did pay attention to it, obviously. And then the ref goes in and he goes like, well, you can't tag in because there's no tag rope. And GYV is here teasing that they have the rope with them on top of the commentary table, which obviously JBBJ can see it, but they can't do anything about it. And then I believe is it Jensen that got like pushed up on the ring?
Briggs is on the outside. You have one of the Creeds. I think it was Julius on the inside.
I think so.
And you had Briggs running him towards the ropes.
Yeah, then
Jensen running him towards the ropes.
And then obviously with the roll up, and then that's how they win. So you think they're not gonna win because they don't have the tag rope, but they still win because of the roll up. And that even I got mad about it, and then I saw JPJ's tweet, and I'm like, yep, I'm not alone then. I was just thinking like the Dynamo was being so built up so well, so why have them lose like this? I'm glad it was not like a regular pinfall or like a submission or anything like that. It was a roll up and a distraction, which makes it like a little bit okay. But still, I was like, why have the Creed brothers lose like this? Is just like, And I'm like, I didn't like how that happened, but no, I thought it was, to be honest, because I feel like have been building up so well that I thought it was their first loss.
I did look it up. They have lost before in similar fashion. They got distracted. It was Jacket Time. Jacket Time was on the outside, dressed like them right after Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think it was Imperium, I think, is the ones who rolled them up and pinned them on that one. It wasn't their first loss. I don't mind it. The Creeds aren't this ultimate destruction team. They haven't been building them that way for a while. Like, they're still a power team, and they're still amateur wrestlers, but they've kind of changed where that team was headed. They're not Bludgeon Brothers. We have to be, all empowered, and we have to, win everything by absolutely destroying each other. They have the ability to kind of lose in this one, especially when you're building a face team to go up against your heel tag team champions. I agree, Bill. I agree. I wanted Walter. I always want Walter. I'm never going to get Walter because he doesn't want to live in the United States. And as fans, we want to keep thinking that Walter's going to come here and do all the things we want him to do. But Walter just doesn't care. Like, Walter doesn't like living in the States. He said it before. It's why it took him so long to sign with NXT, because he didn't want to sign for NXT proper. He wanted to sign for NXT UK. I want Walter back because Imperium has been losing their way, and there might be a storyline to that, I think, coming for WrestleMania weekend, where Walter comes to sort out Imperium. It might happen. I'm going to keep hoping for it.
I feel like every week I hope he shows up, though.
I do, too. I'm not going to discourage you from hoping. Keep hoping, keep dreaming, keep thinking, because eventually it's going to happen. But yeah, I think come WrestleMania weekend, where he is going to want to come over here and do some stuff that he's allowed to do, and it's WrestleMania weekend. But with all the things that Imperium have been doing, and the subtle things with Toxic Attraction and Marcel Bartel getting slightly distracted, there's a lot of good that can come from Walter coming in and slapping them and getting them back on track to the mat being sacred, especially if it causes them to lose their tag team titles. Yes, this is a dream match that I want to have at some point, and I really, really hope we get to see it. Again, if we can convince Walter that the United States is a wonderful place to come live and not living in Austria, we have a chance. Otherwise, I don't know how possible it is. But we'll keep hoping, because I want to see Walter in a main roster ring, because I honestly don't think, other than the Survivor Series thing, where they've already proven they can kind of screw with him, that Vince would screw up Walter.
We have no memory of that, okay?
But then again,
Men in Black.
but then again, well, no, Zach, we can't talk about alien technology. Zach was just on a little while ago.
Team Ampersand.
Zach is an alien. Anyways, you know, like Walter's been botched with before, and you say, well, they can't screw up this guy. This guy's exactly what WWE wants. I give you Keith Lee, and I give you Karrion Kross. Yeah. Both of them can wrestle. Both of them are big guys. Both of them were possibly screwed up by WWE on the main roster. Neither one was screwed up in NXT. Say what you will about Karrion Kross and say his whole act in NXT. It worked. After this, we get the Zion Quinn promo where he talks about how he's going to go ahead and take care of Santos Escobar, which didn't happen. I flashed myself for Ciampa and Gargano for BOD. Brothers of Destruction. Oh, okay. Yep. Ciampa versus Gargano 4 wasn't that bad. I'm assuming that's the cinematic match that wasn't what we all wanted it to be, but it wasn't that bad. I can't defend Brothers of Destruction versus DX. That thing was a shit show from the moment it started. Nothing went right for those four wonderful, wonderful, talented wrestlers in that match. Back on track, Ed. Back on track. Cameron Grimes versus Duke Hudson. Go.
You mean Jake Paul?
I have here written Duke Hudson in a blonde wig with his Kurt Angle headset on. By the way, he definitely watched the WWE Network for the Kurt Angle thing, because this is right out of that Kurt Angle playbook. I'm getting on a cheap wig and I'm bringing out an amateur wrestling thing. Like, that's right out of the Kurt Angle handbook. So, Duke, good job on getting somebody's positive, idea. It didn't work for you like it worked for Kurt.
Yeah, I love how Rhea took his picture and posted it as her profile picture on Twitter. That's just priceless. I love that friendship between them. But yeah, just like, I want to see him getting shaved like completely on TV. Just like do something to him, because he gets shaved the whole thing. I'm like, that would look terrifying, but sure. And I love how Cameron's looking, and now I think they have the no holds barred match next week. So I'm hoping like Duke gets so beat up that he can shave him completely, at least, so we can finally see that. Because I want to get the satisfaction that is done completely. So please.
Shh. It's a few
You're
seconds
not helping,
away.
Alex.
Shh.
You're not helping.
I kind of like this. Yeah, I agree. The no holds barred match is going to be the match that I wanted to see the whole time. The hair versus hair, I could take it or leave it. Obviously Duke is bald already underneath, so all we have to do is get the hair off. I'm kind of upset that he didn't shave off the whole beard and goatee thing. Mm-hmm. Like, when I think of hair versus hair, like, I want it all gone. Yeah. Like, I want them to be like bald top, bald face, the whole baby's bottom thing, kind of, like smooth as a baby's bottom kind of thing. We then get a backstage segment where Jacket Time is congratulating JBBJ. Grizzled Young Veterans come in demanding that they get credit for trying to screw JBBJ out of the match. But because it backfired on GYV, they deserve credit as opposed to being assaulted. To which then KC Squared come by and say a win's a win no matter how you get it. Yeah, there's your good baby faces on KC Squared. They then say they have concert tickets, an extra 2 tickets. Who wants to go? So JBBJ and leave with them. Mm-hmm. That's a pair of odd couples I didn't see. But moving on, we then get Jacket Time getting in a fight with GYV over something. So, I mean, if it means I get to see Kushida and Ika Manjiro versus GYV in the ring, yay. Otherwise, this wasn't the greatest segment for me.
Mhm.
Yes, Bill. This is why I don't understand this whole thing. Yes, country mix and an EDM rave. Like the two just don't go together. Like maybe it's a country concert they have tickets for, but then it doesn't fit KC Squared's whole gimmick.
I want
So
to know what concert that was because in Orlando, and I didn't know anything about anything like that. So,
it was probably a concert at Full Sail. Ooh.
oh, it sucks. So no worries. I'm used to it. Let's go.
We then had Dexter Lumis versus Carmelo Hayes, and I enjoyed this match fully. Carmelo Hayes, Florida Georgia line. I'll skip that concert too, and I'm a country fan. That being said, Dexter Lumis and Carmelo Hayes just
Wait, before you go, how could you forget about Karen though? You didn't see Karen?
I did miss Karen. Was she in the back of
Yeah.
the
Behind the
JWJs?
counter, she was standing up with her pajamas and her pillow, and she was drinking something. And then she looked around, and she went back down. I'm like, now that, and you see how they're showing her closer up because I think people didn't notice her the first time around.
I still missed her in this. I think I was rolling my eyes too much at the fact that GYV is still a comedy act that I just didn't even notice anything else. I mean, there's so many things wrong with that segment that even that little piece of joy at the end, like I probably was already so done with the segment to get by the time we got there. But yeah, speaking of good things, we have Carmelo Hayes. He was selling his ass off in this match for Dexter Lumis. I love the way some people, when they get hurt, they forget about selling pain and not selling an injury. And you could tell in this match that Carmelo Hayes had gone through a War Games match a couple nights before. The way he sold and everything else. Dexter Lumis and Trick Williams. I love this silly feud. Like, it's dumb and it's silly, but it's a great way to get Trick Williams' character over and evolving, and it keeps Dexter Lumis happy and on TV. Dexter wins when Trick Williams punches him in the face because he's got Carmelo Hayes. You know, it is what it is, and it was a nice use of their time. They got about, I want to say, 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, that felt really long today. Like that match, and then Santos and Zion felt like the longest matches of the whole episode tonight.
Yeah, they got time and they used their time well. What were your thoughts on Lumis versus Hayes?
I enjoyed it. The only part I didn't like was at the beginning, or it was towards the beginning, when Dexter's like, he's like carrying Carmelo, and he looks like he's just like holding him up, and then he does it, and then they look like they're grappling down, but then they're not, and then they let go and they go back to it, and I was like, what kind of mess is this? That's what I felt like at first. But I did like, more than anything, like Trick Williams, his facial expressions when he's with Dexter. At first, it looked kind of funny with the camera because they're showing Trick and then they're showing Dexter. It didn't seem like they were in the same place when they're shooting the camera shots like that. And I'm like, if anybody watching this probably thinking they're not even close to each other or even in front of each other like this. But like usual, I was expecting Dexter to lose the match. So I was like already like waiting for it. And then when it didn't happen, I was surprised. But obviously, this is a way to obviously protect both of them, not have Dexter lose this early, and obviously protecting Carmelo as a champion as well, which I figure this is what they were thinking of from the beginning. But overall, I like the interactions more than anything between Trick and Dexter. That's what made the match for me.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want your A champion, as he calls himself, the self-proclaimed A champion. You don't want him losing clean to Dexter Lumis here. You can explain it away a little bit by saying he was just in War Games. Like, he could have lost clean with no real loss to it. But you're telling the story. It's not even a story about Carmelo Hayes. It's a story about Trick. It's the story of Trick and Dexter getting his hands on Trick Williams at the end and putting him in the silence before Carmelo Hayes gets him out of there. And before we get to the Shaman segment, because finally it's over, well, we'll answer this one first. When Sean Cena, because it's on topic, does Dexter lose if there's a title match? Yeah, I don't see Carmelo Hayes losing that title anytime soon unless he's getting a new one. Like, if he's going up to face Braun Breaker for the NXT Championship come WrestleMania weekend, then at some point he's dropping it and maybe Dexter wins it there. Maybe Roderick Strong wins it if he drops the cruiserweight title. But I don't see Hayes losing it until he's ready to move up to the world championship. What about you?
Yeah, same. Just like there's no point in having him lose already with his first championship and the way he's been like brought up already. I don't think he should lose it already, unless he's going for the NXT championship and winning it. So
he doesn't even have to win the NXT championship. Like
I know, but I would like him to.
I would love it if he wins it, but I mean, at that point, we're talking Braun Breaker versus Carmelo Hayes, and at that point, there's no losing in that scenario.
Yeah.
But Bill brings up an interesting point, and he's right. We haven't seen her. I'm not as negatively taking that as he is, but he's very happy that we haven't seen her for a month. I assume we're going to see a lashing out within the next week or two. Lashing out is what set up the whole thing for the men's War Games match, and that was the last time we saw it. So it's been about 4 weeks probably. Speaking of silly things that I'm glad are over, we had the reveal of the Shaman. The reveal of the Shaman is Matt Riddle.
Should have known.
Which I will commit. Alex did call this. So, Alex, I'm giving you credit. I hope you're still listening. Credit to Alex, EctoGuy87, for calling this on our show when we talked to him about who was going to be the Shaman. I didn't think they'd bring Matt down from main roster to do it. It did make perfect sense. It was a train wreck of a segment because I'm not a pot smoker. So maybe it works better for those who enjoy it. I think it looks foolish and dumb. That being said, it left me with one question. Yes, Raw is Riddle. But by the way, this is no condemnation on Matt Riddle. I love the Matt Riddle character. I just don't need it in 3 people in the same segment. It's one reason why I didn't like the Rascals, like when they were in TNA, because there was 3 of them all doing the same thing, and it's just too much. It works fine with Nash Carter and Wes Lee. But when you add that third piece, for me, it's just too much. I have one question for you, Ashford, and then you can talk about the segment as a whole. Did you get the idea that when Matt Riddle said he's not leaving, that he's going to be their manager?
Oh no, I don't like Matt Riddle like that. No offense to him. I feel like I feel nothing for him. So just like seeing this, I was just like, I was hoping it would be more. And like that would have been like good enough for me. But I should have known with all the wheat references that it was gonna be Matt Riddle. But I just like the part when they said tag team specialist and Riddle never crossed my mind because of that part. So I don't know. I'm like, maybe it'll get them over a little bit more because people are liking Riddle a little bit more lately. But I'm like, I feel like they don't need him. So just what's the point of having him there? But yeah.
I mean, I agree with double duty, and that's fine. I'm just with them touring. I'm surprised that they're going to be flying Matt after he works on a Monday, flying him to Florida on a Tuesday to fly him back out to be on the road again.
Unless they do more segments and things like that.
Yeah, but like if they're going to have him ring, like, because he said he wasn't leaving. Like they asked him if he was leaving, and that's what led me to the question: is he going to be their manager? And Sean Cena even brings it even further. Is Riddle moving back to NXT? No. Riddle's not going back down. He's working side by side with Randy Orton, and he's eventually going to be working against Randy Orton. I'm guessing for Mania. Yeah. Like the turn is coming within the next 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Day 1 Royal Rumble, like Riddle throws Randy out of the Rumble and Randy gets pissed.
Yeah, like I can see that happening.
Like this is a tailor-made Mania feud where Riddle goes over Randy at Mania. Like, but I don't want Riddle managing MSK. Like the crowd was finally liking MSK. I don't want another reason to not like MSK. Fine. It took you 6 weeks to get Riddle, who said he watches and he's been there for I don't know. The team could go longer, I agree, but I think at some point you want the heel turn, and if you're going into Mania, like you could book it all the way out so right before Mania, I mean, I think Rumble's a great time for it because I think you can do it either way, especially if you, depending on who you want to turn. Like if you want, in my mind, if you want Matt to turn, which would be my ideal scenario, I don't think they're going to do it. But if you turn Matt heel on a face Randy Orton, which is not easy to do, a Royal Rumble is the perfect way to do it. You have Matt eliminate Randy from the Rumble. Randy's like, what the hell? Or you have Randy eliminate Matt, something like that. But yeah, the team could keep going because they're fantastic. And Randy has fully committed. Give Randy all the credit in the world. He has fully committed to the Matt Riddle gimmick and everything that goes along with it. So big ups to him because Lord knows 4 years ago he would never have done this crap. But it's been great. We then at the end of this get one of my favorite parts of the show, as Alex alluded to earlier. Stay on track. Here comes Mandy. We had Mandy Rose interrupt Vic Joseph. And I'm like, I know this voice. Who is this voice? And then they have Mandy Rose and Toxic Attraction sitting on top of the road cases out back. And I'm like, my happy place. We then had a commercial break. And when we came back from the commercial break, we had Persia Perota talking to Indy Hartwell, trying to get Indy back on track now that Dexter's back. Yay, I have a friend in the Mandy Rose department. Film. So we have Persia talking to Indy and trying to get her mind, as we say, back on track to tag team wrestling. And that now that Dexter's back, she can go ahead and focus. And Indy's like, yeah, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. And then Dexter comes running in and gives her a hug and a kiss and picks her up. And she's sitting in his arms. And then in comes Johnny. And it's this nice little family moment. And Persia's just sitting there on the outside. They're going to turn her heel. She's going to turn on Indy, right?
No.
Oh, no, I lied. It wasn't about Mandy. It's about her.
Maybe it's both.
Maybe it's both. I mean, both of them are wonderfully wonderful women. They're fantastic in the ring. Persia is growing on me week by week. Like, she may just be Indy's friend for now, but I feel like she's going to be the makings of a star, and it is both. The answer to this question in gimmick Ed, in NXT Ed, is Mandy. In take away the branding, and we'll do this for 2 seconds because it's probably going to get me yelled at. Take away all the branding and just have this. It's Alexa Bliss, hands down, 10 out of 10. I am an enormous Alexa Bliss fan. She is one of the most talented women in the division, and does not get the credit she deserves for her in-ring journey that she's made from being the Pixie Princess in NXT.
Yeah, I remember that.
To the in-ring talent she's become, let alone the work on the microphone with Murphy and the other one. Blake and Murphy, yeah. Now, forget the work on the mic there. Forget all the fantastic mic work she's done on the main roster and everything else. The in-ring change with Alexa Bliss from NXT, Pixie Princess, barely on the show, to the Goddess, to Little Miss Bliss and everything else is an absolute testament to how hard she's worked. And it reminds me of Trish Stratus.
Yeah, getting called Tinkerbell by Renee on commentary. I will never forget that.
Yeah, but like I said, like I said, it reminds me of Trish with the whole idea, like Trish, when she started, couldn't wrestle well. Trish was all about eye candy, and she was a fitness model, but she put in the time and she put in the work. And no, Alexa Bliss isn't in the same realm of wrestling as Trish Stratus. She's not. I can be completely honest with that. But the work rate that she's accrued from here to there has been, nothing short of brilliant. Yeah, I stay on. Where's the comment? Stay on track. Here comes Mandy. And Bill does clarify it is both.
I figured.
But After the Way has their nice little family segment in the back. We then get Valentina Feroz and Yulisa Leon, I believe is how you would pronounce these.
Good job.
And they lose to Toxic Attraction a lot longer than I thought it would have taken, but they lose to Toxic Attraction. I literally wrote squashed by Toxic Attraction, to which I had to rephrase to lose to because it took like 4.5 minutes. It felt like it felt way too long. Mandy then gets in the ring and cuts a great promo talking about how, you know, she's the top of the women's division. You know, oh, Cora Jade thinks she's, you know, coming for me and oh, that's cute and everything else. And then out comes Cora Jade and she starts telling Mandy, well, you know, I beat you 2 weeks ago and we won War Games, so I'm due a women's title shot. And I'm like, all right, you know, it'll be somebody nice for Mandy to beat on the road to, because I don't think Cora Jade's the one taking the title from her. I think it's building a nice feud before.
KLR has to be.
I think so. Unless there's a face that I'm forgetting on the roster that's going to do it. I think it's going to be a facey heeled version, a tweener version of KLR taking it off of Mandy. Because I mean, Mandy's pure heel. So it's I guess you call KLR a tweener. I mean, she gave Cora Jade at the you know, after the segment, she gave her the baseball bat. So I mean, she's kind of a face. But anyways, Cora interrupts Mandy and talks about wanting the match, and she gets up on the ring apron, which is silly considering she's in a sling. And I mean, I love when wrestlers are like, "I'm hurt," and you know, I'm
still gonna beat you.
I'm still one limb down, and you're 3-on-1. But you know what? I'm gonna get in the ring or get near getting in the ring and try to beat you up. And we have Bill with Gigi Dolan, which I, again, can't disagree. Toxic Attraction is delightful. Raquel then comes out with the equalizer, which is a steel chair. I'm not so sure it equalizes the situation. Raquel and half of Cora Jade versus all three of Toxic Attraction.
That equals 2 people. That's it.
What, Raquel and I was gonna say what Raquel?
Or 1.5.
I mean, 1.5 with Cora Jade and Raquel, and then what? Another 1 maybe for the steel chair. It's still 3 on 2.5 at that point. I still think Toxic Attraction has the advantage there. They also have title belts. Let's not forget that. But anyways, it seems like we're heading to Cora Jade and Raquel Gonzalez as a tag team to take on Toxic Attraction to build to the title match against Mandy. Sure, fine. Somebody's got to face Toxic Attraction. Any thoughts on the segment? On the match?
Yeah, it's just obviously like a way. It's the way I see it, just like a little pit stop on the way to KLR, and that's gonna be Cora, and probably the rematch with Raquel, and then obviously probably get KLR towards the end. That's how I see it from the beginning. So yeah, I was expecting something like this, and seeing like I know it's gonna be one of those matches like people already love Cora, especially after War Games. So it's gonna be one of those matches that obviously is gonna get people already like cheering for Cora, but obviously she's gonna lose. So
yeah, I mean. And that's fine. Like, not every babyface has to win. Like, the heel needs to, especially if you're going to have a decent length heel run with a heel champion, like, they have to defeat the babyface a couple times. So, like, you can build the babyface like Cora Jade, let her lose. You know, we're going to, it's NXT. We're going to go ahead and do the typical NXT thing. Liv Morgan is fantastic. Liv Morgan probably should have won last night and had a short run through maybe day 1 at the longest the Royal Rumble as the Raw Women's Champion before you put the title back on Becky, because you put the title on Becky heading into WrestleMania, whether it be Bayley, whether it be somebody else. But not every babyface needs to win. Like, you can let the babyface lose and get their moment and put them over in a big spot and then just lose.
Yes, I feel like last night at least has set it up for Liv between the video packaging and the way they kept talking about her through the whole night and bringing up the main event with Lita and Trish. So just like I feel like it was a perfect setup for Liv to win it, and it wasn't. But for Cora, even though it's similar in a way to Liv, because obviously they're having that feud with Becky is similar to the way Cora will be with Mandy. But this is one of those situations that, like I said, she's just like a pit stop on her way to KLR. So.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Sean Cena, that would be my best guess, is that the women's title match will be at New Year's Evil on January 5th. 5th? 4th? Hold on.
I don't even know what day it is anymore.
4th. Uh-oh. That's going to be a busy day for us here at Raw of Wrestling. Oh, boy. At Wrestle Kingdom. January 4th. And
there's something else in that same night. Isn't there another event? Or I don't remember if it was that same week.
Day 1 is on the Saturday. And then Wrestle Kingdom is the 4th and the 5th. And then, like, the 9th.
I know there's something going on in one of the New Japan dates. I think it's the last one, if I'm not mistaken, but I can't think of it. So
the end of December, beginning of January, I think, is the Noah thing. Is that what you're talking about?
Maybe.
The New Japan versus Noah? Anyways, that's
a different story.
At least, I mean, we're pretty much done with the show, so we can really talk about whatever we want at this point. Because there's really only 2 segments-ish to talk about.
Well,
we had another Tiffany Stratton vignette.
I honestly didn't like how she brought up like having like wanting the NXT Women's Championship. I was like, girlfriend, get on the show before, and then we'll talk about the championship.
No, I like it because in this vignette they were bringing up her Olympic past. No, I'm sorry, not her Olympic past. Her championship past as part of the U.S. team on the national team. She is not an Olympian as far as I know. I forget if it was the U.S. national team. I know it's the U.S. national team, but I don't know if it was during an Olympic run. Either way, she's talking about how her dad didn't want her on the U.S. national team because she doesn't deserve to be part of a team. She needs to be solo. And so if she wants solo and she wants a gold medal, what's better than a gold medal is a gold title. So the NXT Women's Championship. I get where they were going. I don't think she's fast-tracked to this championship. At least I hope she's not. There's plenty of other people in this division who need to at least have a brief run with flirting with the title before we get to Tiffany Stratton getting there. I'm going to go back to it because I for some reason said we're going to talk about it and then never wrote it in my notes.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to finish.
We'll go to it at the end of the show. We'll finish with that segment because that was great, and the rest of these aren't. So they had Tony D'Angelo cutting a promo where he's talking about war games and Mackenzie's talking about how, other people were stars and whatnot. And he talks about how he's going to go sell Pete Dunne's mouth guard on the internet to some idiot on the internet. I guarantee you if that goes up on WWEauctions.com, it's going to sell for a whole lot of money to somebody. That being said, we then get one of my favorite people on NXT. Did somebody say Andre Chase? Andre Chase shows up and talks to Tony D'Angelo and tells him that, if he'd followed Andre Chase's game plan, he would have been a star at War Games as opposed to just another guy on the winning team.
And not like Grayson either.
Not like Grayson Waller. And I'm like, oh, so are we headed to Tony D'Angelo versus Grayson Waller at some point? That might not be bad. But anyways, we do find out that we're going to get Andre Chase versus Tony D'Angelo next week, which I'm like, great. Another win for Tony D'Angelo, another loss for Andre Chase. Andre Chase is going to be entertaining and go sleep with the fishes. Perfect. It's a quick hitter. There's nothing to it. It's fun.
I like the part. I think it was Andre that goes, "Who talks like that?" when he talks about Tony.
Yep. After Tony walks away saying that, all the stuff, Andre looks at Mackenzie and goes, "Who talks like that?"
And then he kept talking, and they basically went to the arena, and I was like, "How do you do that to Andre? Why do you interrupt him like that?" He was still talking.
The best part, well, just because they wanted to give the impression that they didn't want to talk to him, they didn't want to listen to him. But I did love how he started the word teachable moments, and Vic Joseph finished it laughing. When he was trying to make fun of Andre Chase as they went back to Vic Joseph in the arena. We then had the Santos and Zion match. We had the Hayes and Bivens promo. And then right before Johnny Gargano came out, we had the Boa promo where Boa said some stuff. And
Idris.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
I honestly couldn't care less. Honestly, sorry, Boa, couldn't care. I literally wrote down Boa. The extent of everything beyond the toxic attraction stuff is Tiffany Stratton vignette, Tony D promo. Tony then, when he got entered by Andre Chase, I went back and wrote / Andre Chase. Santos defeats Zion. Hayes versus Bivens promo. Boa promo. Johnny Gargano promo. Sad face.
Yeah, I don't remember the context exactly, like the lines, but he did call out like Idris during the promo, and then with the change in the face paint, that's basically what happened in the story. And I'm like, without Mei Ying, this doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm just like, I'm out. I wanted it when it was Mei Ying, but after that, nope.
They had a fun story when it was Mei Ying and Xia Li, and Boa was part of it, and they've now taken away everything that's interesting about this, and they've left us with Boa. Again, Boa, if you're watching, I don't know why you would be, but if you are, go ahead and get in touch with us. We'll have an interview, and I'll see your side of it and see if there's anything good of it. I'm sure you're a talented dude, but I could care less.
No, I felt like I was like this, and I started losing interest when they took out Xia, and then when they took out Mei Ying, and I'm like, nope, not out.
Like, good for them for trying to keep with this whole thing, but sure, we've talked about Boa way more than we should already. I think we talked more about Boa than Boa talked about himself on the show.
Yeah.
But going back to the last fun thing that we'll talk about before we go ahead and get ready to head out of here, we had Grayson Waller flirting with a young lady outside of the arena. I mean, I'm sure Grayson can do better, but all right.
I think
cool.
she looks like the ones that they've been using for the past couple of weeks. She looks like one of those girls.
It's the same one from the poker segment. It's the same one from the Halloween party. Honestly, Grayson, if you've been chasing this girl for that long and she ain't with you yet, like, you might as well just give up and get out. Like, come on, Grayson, you're a decent looking dude. Like, you can do better. Like, come on. Anyways, go hit up Cora Jade. That's another thing that got dropped. She constantly gave him this weird side eye, and now that she's got a storyline, that whole thing's been dropped. But anyways, back to the fun stuff. We had on track. Blinders. Oh God, could you imagine me trying to do this show with blinders so that I couldn't see the chat?
I keep thinking of like being that was in an airline. I keep thinking of the airplanes and when they take off and just going like that. That's what I started doing. So there you go.
So Grayson tries to flirt with the girl, and she's flirting back with him pretty well. And then he's like, "So let's go out tonight." And she's like, "No, I've got other plans." He's like, "Come on, I was in the main event. I was in the main event at War Games. Come on, what better plans could you have than me?" And we turn and we pivot and we see LA Knight with his beautiful Corvette. And God, I love that car. I know it's all plastic, but I love that car. And she starts walking over to LA Knight, and he goes, "Hey, Grayson." Oh, LA Knight's such a dickhead. I love it. And then Grayson keeps trying to convince her to not get in the car, and she's not listening at all whatsoever as she gets into LA Knight's car. And LA Knight gets back in the car, and he has this great line. "You're all about views. You're all about likes. I hope you like this view." And he drives away. Good job, LA Knight. Apparently this feud's not done. I really thought we were done with this.
Yeah.
But apparently this is Grayson's placeholder feud until we get to Ciampa after Ciampa loses to Breakker.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of plate spinning right now in NXT because I think we have to get past New Year's Evil and all of the stuff that's going on with setting up the takeover of the 2.0 crew, completely taking over, which I would love the idea that we get NXT 2.0 takeover for WrestleMania weekend. Like, just takeover.
Yeah. That would be cool.
I think it would fit. Like, I'm sad that the next one's New Year's Evil as opposed to just like a takeover with Breakker finally winning the championship. But yeah, that was this edition of NXT. There was a lot of down this week. There was a lot of, I don't really care about this. But the stuff that was good was really good in my mind. Your thoughts on the show as a whole and anything that we didn't give enough time or talking about?
No, to me, it's a pretty good episode, especially post War Games. Like I feel like I was thinking maybe it won't be that good if they're like thinking like doing new things, but overall, it was pretty good for me. I feel like like you said, I feel like, for example, with like Diamond Mine and Carmelo, like they're like having them with like 2 and 3 people, which is interesting because you never know what's gonna happen next week. But other than that, I feel like it was a good episode. I feel like it continued some good storylines and it kept everything interesting as well. The only part that was like downfall for me was like more than it is like the Boa stuff, because I just like I lost interest in him as a whole. But other than that, it was a good episode overall for me.
Yeah, I thought it was a really nice episode. They did a lot of good. I'm not giving myself the big screen for me, so I just wanted to put up something that you posted from Twitter. I'm gonna go ahead and put it up on here.
Hmm.
And then we have this one.
Oh, I love it.
Great photos from people in the crowd today on in dealing with Johnny Gargano and cut the big screen off me. Big screen away. All right. But now that we're kind of already, I did really good until right there. Now that we're pretty much done with the show, we're going to go ahead and give our plugs for what's going on in the next week or two and going forward as we get ready to head to New Year's Evil. Astrid, big screen.
Well, more than anything, I'm gonna promote this certain tweet that I put a couple hours ago because I feel like it will be everything we have been doing. I put up the tweet. It has the link to the Between Two Beards episode that I did yesterday. That was like so last minute, but it was a lot of fun though. I put the episode that we did for Waffle Slam together. Ed and I did Waffle Slam, the first edition. So I put the link up for that video too. Yeah, just like it's been fun doing stuff this whole week. Is I never expected to do anything. We did Waffle Slam. I did Between Two Beards, and then this, and the React show for War Games too. I put the link up for that one. So watch us. Especially on YouTube. Try to watch us to give us the watch hours that we need, because we really want to get into that. And if you haven't, subscribed to the YouTube channel. And obviously, we'll be here next week for NXT. Give our reactions. And other than that, I'll be on my Twitter, Astrid Pizarro. So I'll be live tweeting everything I can when I'm not here on Love Wrestling.
There's her Twitter again. I was trying to
That
synchronize with her saying subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah.
Also, you can find us on. Oh, hold on. Everything's froze for me there. Find us on Twitch here. And don't forget, we have our new shirts that are pre-orderable. The Live, Laugh, Love Wrestling shirts that are pre-orderable over there. You can always find me. I'll give myself the big screen for this one. You can find me right over here, Fries12584 on Twitter. You can go ahead and find me moderating the Tom Collihue Twitch channel for his spoiler warnings and his watch-alongs on Mondays and Friday evenings. You can always find me here on NXT following Powerrrout with Astrid and hopefully the returning soon Cody. Cody is right now cheering on the Minnesota Wild against the Edmonton Oilers. Go Wild, boo Oilers. There. Spencer and Parrish will love that. Yes. Don't forget to go check out our sponsors at RK Athletics 1 on Twitter and Instagram. And like I said earlier in the show, it was kind of a poor joke, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. Over here in the corner, on Twitter today, we announced our partnership with Manscaped. So you can go ahead and go to that tweet, and it will give you all the information for the link that you can use, and use the code LOVEWRESTLING to get 20% off your packages over there. They are a new sponsor. Hopefully we can continue doing wonderful things with them. So show them the love from the Love Wrestling community to your community. And go ahead and check out that tweet that we put up on the Love Wrestling Twitter. But that was NXT. Powerrrout was earlier. Thank you, Astrid, for joining me. I know with two men, booths are always kind of, we need Cody.
We're a great team.
We need Cody directing the traffic, because when I run the show, we end up talking about all kinds of weird things. We just need to stay on
We're
track.
right on brand. It's okay.
Dude, our brand has come
We're
track.
right on brand. It's okay.
Dude, our brand has come me just rambling about nonsense, isn't it? That is the new NXT brand, isn't it? Just Ed raffling off about nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. And remember, love wrestling.